Hey everybody, it's Monica with Fit Eats Coaching, and today I'm back with super quick stretch for beginners. This is part one of a 3-part series, and it is tied to my new ebook called Essential Stretch, the most essential stretches that you need to be doing after your workouts. You don't need to put yourself in all kinds of crazy yoga positions to improve your flexibility. What we're going to do is we're going to hold each stretch for 30 seconds, so I suggest you get yourself a stopwatch. Any stopwatch will do. Obviously, I'm using an iPad. And if you want to hold a stretch a little bit longer, yeah, absolutely do that. If it's feeling good, if you're feeling like you're getting some release, I'll share some tricks throughout this whole stretch session that are going to help you feel more relaxed while you're stretching. Alright, so our first stretch is a calf stretch. We're going to place the ball of the foot on a yoga block and the heel on the ground. You can keep the knees slightly bent and make sure that you're hinging at the hips. So you don't want a rounded back. You want your back to be nice and flat, and obviously it helps to have your deep abdominals slightly pulled in and to just work at a height that works for you. So maybe your hands need to be higher on a table or chair or a step-up box, but if a yoga block works, then you can play with the heights of the yoga block. This stretch is pretty intense for most people because most people tend to not stretch their calves, so you're just holding it for 30 seconds on each side. And as I said before, there are a lot of tricks that you can use when you're stretching to relax your body. So deep breaths, count 3 deep breaths, and try to maintain a mindset of positive release. So one thing that a lot of people do that increases the resistance is they just immediately think, I need to get out of this. So if you kind of just accept that it's going to feel a little uncomfortable, you will be able to stay in it for the full 30 seconds. All right, now we're moving on to hamstring stretch. Notice how I'm pumping my foot up. You don't need to do that, but it does help to release the hamstring, and it kind of keeps you distracted. It provides a little bit of contract release technique there. And remember that you can bend the knees as much as you need to. Place your hands higher again if you need to move up higher so that your hamstrings are getting a good stretch without compromising your back. 30 seconds on each side is going to be a lot easier if you take slow, deep breaths and again, maintain a positive mindset that you can hold it for 30 seconds. Once we get into more advanced practice, we're going to be holding these stretches and more advanced ones for 60 seconds. So this is a great way to get in the habit of just relaxing in a stretch. All right, after we do 30 seconds of hamstring stretch, we're going to move on to deep lunge. So this is for your quads and hip flexors. Notice how my knee is aligned over my heel, and my hip of my back leg is aligned over the knee, but then my knee moves way back. And my yoga blocks are kind of closer to my hips than they are to the front of my front leg. You want to stay upright pretty much unless you are going deeper in a very deep low lunge with forearm to floor. Then you can definitely kind of lean forward. But if you're just doing a deep lunge with your knees scoot back, then you definitely want to stay really straight with your upper back, shoulders, abs pulled in, all the things I'm doing right there with my body to show you that alignment is really key for getting that release through your quads, hip flexors, obliques, even your inner thighs. Once you do 30 seconds of that, we're going to go into Playful Puppy. Playful Puppy can be challenging for anybody that has really tight chest and shoulders. It is helpful sometimes to place your hands on a chair instead of on the ground. I don't find that this is a problem for people with back pain. Sometimes it actually feels like a huge relief for people with back pain, but just again, be really careful keeping your abdominals slightly pulled in, and just work at an intensity or depth, I should say, that feels right for your flexibility level. All right, next up is Cobra. Cobra repeats are going to be a little bit different than the other stretches, where you're just gonna slowly raise yourself up. Notice how I'm keeping my elbows bent. I'm not locking my arms out at the top. I'm trying to move my head around, snake it around to just release my neck a little bit, but I'm not holding that stretch for any length of time. I'm just doing little repeats for the 30 seconds, keeping the abs again tucked in to protect the back.
From there, you're going into the Reclined Butterfly. And it helps a lot to lay with your arms out to the sides, palms to the sky. So that helps to continue opening up the chest, the shoulders, and really relaxes the entire torso. This is your opportunity to take really deep breaths here. And if you struggle with your legs being open like that, you can always place something like yoga blocks under your knees. All right, from here we're going into figure 4. You can either place your hands on top of your knee, thread through the leg, or if neither of those work, you can place your foot on the ground and then just hold your foot and knee with your hands, making sure that you do not allow your butt and hips to lift off the ground. So if you are very rounded and you have no contact with the floor with your lower body, then maybe this is not the best way for you to get your hips and low back and inner thigh release. There is a seated version of this that works a little bit better. There's also a floor seated version of this that works a little bit better. I will be showing that in the intermediate video. But this can also be modified with your bottom foot on the wall. There's a lot of ways to modify this stretch if you find that you're rounding your back and your butt is lifting off the ground. All right, next up is 30 seconds on each side of crescent pose. Crescent pose is amazing for releasing really tight hips. If you've never done this stretch before, just be really careful that your crescent is not too aggressive. You want it to just be moderate. Notice how my feet are off the mat, torso is kind of in the center of the mat, and then my arms and head are kind of over in the same direction as my feet. And then you just switch to your other side. Now, what I have found with this stretch, because of issues that I've had with my hips, is that one side always feels like my back wants to cramp. So that's where you adjust how much of a crescent you want. And again, take deep breaths. Sometimes it helps to touch your abdominals as you're doing this stretch to get more release, especially if you're having a hard time relaxing. All right, from here, we're gonna do a twist. So just hug the knee in and then cross over the body. Make sure that you're keeping your head and shoulders down and you're pressing down on that knee as you breathe out. So take a deep breath, and then as you breathe out, press down on that knee. That's gonna help to release all that tension in the hips, low back, chest, shoulders, even the neck. And one thing to notice on this stretch is you don't want to allow your head and shoulders to come off the ground. I may have mentioned that at the start of this stretch, but it's important to repeat that because a lot of times people want to lift their head and shoulders to accommodate tightness. If you can't bring the knee all the way over, then just bring it to where it will go. Eventually, you will get more of a twist over time as you get more flexible in those areas. Now from here, we're going to roll up and we're going to do our neck stretches. So just hug the knees for a brief second and then just roll up to sitting. And from here, you're going to just place your fingertips on the side of your head, tilt your head away from your other shoulder and reach away with your fingertips of your bottom hand. This can be really intense for a lot of people, especially if you spend a lot of time on devices. So just be really gentle with how hard you're pulling on the neck. You might find that at first you may only be able to pull just slightly, but then as you get more comfortable with this, you'll be able to go further and further. Now once you're done with 30 seconds on each side of this, you're going to sit on 1 or 2 yoga blocks and you're going to almost do something quite similar to this, except you're going to be doing this for your upper back and shoulder area, that area of tension that a lot of people complain about wanting massaged because it's so tense from stress and work and working out. So you're going to grab your wrist, pull down, and again, tilt the head in the opposite direction of the arm that you're pulling down on. Be really careful how far over you tilt your head. And also you can add a tilt down to the floor, so you can kind of tilt your chin down and look down towards the ground. Personally, that's not my favorite way to stretch the chest, but a lot of people do enjoy that stretch, and it helps a lot to release that upper shoulder tension. All right, once you're done with this, you're going to go back and do Playful Puppy one last time, except this time you're going to elevate your hands onto yoga blocks or a chair or table. So come back to your kneeling position, place your blocks in front of you, and then place your hands on top and just allow your chest and your head to just come all the way down to the ground. And then from there, you're just going to relax until you want to be done. And that's it. That's 10 minutes of beginner stretch. Hope you guys have enjoyed it and it has been helpful. I will be back soon with more exercises and tips to help you get your fittest, leanest body.